In our Sunrise Smart Start, a teen was sent to the hospital after a shooting on HOLLENBECK Street in Rochester. Now, this happened around 9 o'clock Sunday night. Police say the woman in her late teens was shot inside her home. There's no update on her condition at this time and no suspects in custody, but anyone with information is asked to call 911. And police say a bullet just missed a 12-year-old's face after a gunshot was fired into a house last night in Rochester. Officers responded to LaSalle Street around 8. 5 people were inside the house at the time of the shooting, including 3 children. No injuries reported and no suspects are in custody. Well, there were no injuries reported after a car rolled onto its roof in Rochester. This happened just before noon yesterday on Ford Street. Police say the SUV was driving at a high rate of speed moments before it flipped, and that the driver of the vehicle fled on foot before officers arrived. Investigators believe the car hit 2 unoccupied parked cars before that crash. Parishioners picking up the pieces after a fire destroyed a church on Christmas Day in Rochester. Firefighters responded to the Seventh-day Adventist Church on Jefferson Avenue Saturday night around 6 for what became a 4-alarm fire. An investigation is ongoing into what exactly caused the fire. During a vigil for the church yesterday, the congregation was joined by regional SDA conference leaders, other pastors, and city leaders. The common theme of that gathering was prayer and hope.
I am just looking at the building and looking at the future and you know what I mean, just envisioning what God is about to do. Because as I've always said, that nothing takes God by surprise, and he knew about this way in advance. And for it to happen, he would have to have given the approval for it to happen. So we know that we are in good hands.
We already got support from some of our brothers in ministry who have allowed us to at least talk with them about renting their quarters to have a place to worship, and that's a very important thing.
And the church says it has started a GoFundMe page for community members to donate. We have a link to that page over at RochesterFirst.com. Local war hero Gary BEIKIRCH, who received the Medal of Honor for his actions during the Vietnam War, has died at the age of 74. He passed away yesterday afternoon after a battle with cancer. Erica Cost joins us live with more on his life and the impact he had on our community. Erica.
Good morning, Allie. We are in Highland Park, where behind me, Monroe County cemented his legacy with that sign. You might not be able to see as the sun isn't quite up yet. That was earlier this summer to honor his legacy. As I mentioned, he won the Congressional Medal of Honor 50 years ago for his heroism fighting in the Vietnam War as a Special Forces medic. Some background on his career: on April 1st, 1970, the camp he was at was attacked. He fought back until he learned a fellow American was wounded and in an exposed position while moving through enemy fire to reach him. A piece of shrapnel stuck him in the back, paralyzing him. For the remainder of the battle, he had to be carried to administer aid to fellow wounded allies while still getting wounded. He continued to fight and provide medical care from a stretcher until eventually evacuated by a helicopter.
But the honor that comes with this Medal of Honor is that it represents something greater than one person who did one act on one day. It represents millions of men and women who serve every day sacrificially. Represents their families who give because they care for something more than themselves. It represents a different way to live your life, loving others more than yourself.
His daughter Stephanie posted on social media yesterday afternoon saying he passed away surrounded by the people he loved, the love of his life, family, and she says, quote, "He is at peace, no pain, only joy forevermore." In Rochester, Erica Cost, News 8.
Erica, thank you. A true hero in our community. BEIKIRCH retired several years ago from the Greece Central School District after decades as a school guidance counselor. Several elected officials have spoken out locally on his death. For more on that, you can head over to our website, RochesterFirst.com. Well, James, we're expecting some snow today, but like you said, it may not stick on the ground.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens as we get through this afternoon, because we'll be talking about a little bit of ice even later today with some freezing rain going to mix in there with the forecast. Radar and satellites, you see the snow showers just starting to creep into New York State. That's going to be the case for the rest of the morning. I'd say by 10 a.m. most of us are seeing the flakes fly. By noon to 1 o'clock, we may have an inch on the ground. That's going to transition over to ice for a brief period that could put a glaze on roadways, I'd say between 2 and 4 p.m. That will fizzle out, though, and will turn all over to rain. We'll have a last look at the 8-day forecast at the end of the show. Allie.
All right, James, thank you. One accident this morning on Fall Road near Chile Avenue in Chile. 390, 490, 590, all running on time out there, but just make sure you're driving carefully as we could see snow and ice later. In international news, South African social rights activist Desmond Tutu has died. Tutu is the first black archbishop of Cape Town, and he rose to fame in the 1980s as he fought racial segregation and spoke out against apartheid while Nelson Mandela was in prison. He won a Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts in 1984. Tutu was 90 years old. Time now for the GRE Morning Business Report. The Secret Service says that nearly $100 billion was stolen out of the pandemic-related government relief funds. That accounts for about 3% of the $3.4 trillion dispersed. The agency says most of improper payments stem from unemployment fraud. Fresh Express is recalling several salad products due to possible listeria contamination. They were sold in 19 states and are marked with code Z324 through Z350. Shoppers are being urged to throw out that product and contact Fresh Express or their local retailer for a refund. And Procter & Gamble is issuing a voluntary recall of more than 30 aerosol spray products due to concerns over the levels of benzene known to cause cancer. Among the products being recalled are Drive shampoos and conditioners under the Pantene, Aussie, and Herbal Essences brands. Customers are being urged to throw out these products and can be reimbursed by checking P&G's website. And here is what people might be talking about at the water cooler this morning. The Bills back on top in the AFC East after beating the Patriots 33-21 in Foxborough. Buffalo controlled the game from start to finish, getting redemption for their loss to New England earlier this month. Josh Allen finished with over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, 2 of which went to Isaiah McKenzie, who stepped up in the absence of Cole Beasley and Gabe Davis. The Bills will host the Atlanta Falcons next week, hoping to maintain this success in the postseason. And I'm sure Bills fans are hoping to see them win again.
Yeah, it says a lot when you can lose key pieces of your team and still have success and beat some of the best teams in the NFL, like the New England Patriots.
Absolutely.
So they have that mentality, next man up, right? So they'll prepare for the game next week, and we're preparing for the weather. News 8 8-day forecast. We've got a little bit of a wintry mix today. We'll start off with snow, put an inch on the ground, then change over a little bit to ice later this afternoon, and then everything goes to rain later tonight. So keep an eye out for slick conditions on roadways and stay with us as we continue with our forecast.
All right, James, thank you so much, and thank you for waking up with us on this Monday morning. Our next update coming up in 30 minutes, and CBS Mornings is up right after this.
Follow News 8 wherever you are on RochesterFirst.com, Facebook, Twitter, and on our app for news and weather.